Hello, I'm Vinzer Flynn, and welcome to the Flinncast. We now join the Flinncast already in progress because Vinzer fucked up the first minute of recording. We're currently talking about the Doctor Who finale. Overall, this was the season finale, and overall I really did like this season. It was really good, good companions, classic bad guys. It had, the Master and of course the Captain Jack appearance, and it gave us a mystery to chew over. Overall, good season, but I do have some issues with it from a storytelling perspective. First thing is I really do like this guy playing the Master. He's fun to watch. The thing is, like, the Master, whenever he shows up, it's like, all right, game on, things are serious now. But I find the Master's got seriously diminishing returns now. It's like, okay, he's trying to defeat the Doctor and he's getting crazier and crazier. But it's just like, he's just this insecure fucking maniac now. And I don't know, I'm bored of him. I'm just like, okay, we get it. You're jealous. Go away. Yeah, and the Master was introduced for the third Doctor, and back then he was kind of this cornball, mustache twirling hypnotist villain, but he was a pretty good villain for the time. And when he returned, in the 10th Doctor era, it was really good. I loved it. But like I said, this actor, I like him. He does play him a really good, crazy Master. But I don't know. I just feel like Masters, he doesn't do it for me as much anymore, I guess. I don't know.
But I agree with Vinzer. I do like the guy that they have playing as the Master right now. He pulls off the super smart crazy really well. Especially with all this Gallifrey stuff, which requires a degree of crazy.
Yeah, the Gallifrey stuff, I actually find when they do, the whole Gallifrey's destroyed or missing, I actually find that kind of boring. I actually like it more when Gallifrey and the Time Lords are still in the mix. I prefer it when it's around, I guess.
I was hopeful that they were going to actually do something with Gallifrey. Like with all the teasing about it in the first couple of episodes, I was like, oh, maybe they'll actually go to Gallifrey and it won't be a shithole and we'll actually get to see it. Not as a pile of rubble for once. Because in the early couple episodes where this season really felt like the companions suddenly realized they didn't know a lot about her and they kept asking questions and she kept dodging them. I thought that might be where that might accumulate, would be a trip to Gallifrey at some point.
And I like that we went back to Gallifrey and we got a whole backstory in the Matrix we'll get to in a second. But I found the Master's master plan in this one to combine the Time Lords with the Cybermen, creating the Cyber Masters. I mean, it was a great master evil crazy plan, but I don't know. To me, it felt like the writers were like, well, we're out of ideas.
Let's play the combination card. Though I admit, I did like what the Cyber Time Lords looked like. The costume was really cool, the way they mashed them together.
It was a cool mashup. What I want to know is, we didn't spend enough time on how the Master killed everybody and how he made them stay dead. And what I want to know is, how are the Cyber Masters regenerating if the bodies are dead? Wouldn't they have regenerated and stayed? That whole thing seems like a glaring plot hole to me.
Yeah, I don't disagree. They got it out that you can only regenerate 12 times. That's good. I mean, one, that means your soldiers are only good 12 times, which is better than the one they currently get. But, if you killed everybody and then presumably kept killing them all until they stayed dead, then how the heck did you bring any of them back to put in cyber bodies? Unless he, knocked them out or whatever and then kept them in cryo or something.
So, if I understand correctly, the Doctor has gone beyond his 12 regenerations, right?
Correct. And that was explained finally in this episode.
We get to a backstory in this big all-knowing Matrix that the Master, he thinks that the truth will drive the Doctor nuts, but it doesn't. The 12 regeneration thing doesn't really mean much anymore. It was just something the Time Lords kind of spliced into the creation of the race. Like it all goes back to this big reveal that the Doctor is in fact the timeless child. She was found from where she came from originally is still a mystery, but potentially unlimited regenerations. The 12 was just something the Time Lords set.
Yeah, so it's basically Juice. This was a huge exposition dump finale about where the Doctor came from.
That means the Time Lords were artificially enforcing this.
I believe so, yes. So how it went in the episode was basically the Doctor's character was found by a Gallifreyan explorer, and this is before Gallifreyans were Time Lords. So a Gallifreyan explorer traveling the stars in a spaceship finds the timeless child, quote unquote, near some sort of portal thing that isn't super explained. And then she, tries to figure out where this kid came from, blah, 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 brings her back to Gallifrey. And one day she's playing on a cliff with her friend or whatever, and she falls off the cliff, hits the ground, and regenerates, as Time Lords do, or whatever at this point. And then they're like, OMG, what the fuck? And then basically the mom, or the explorer, who's kind of her mother figure, I guess, spends the rest of her life trying to figure out how, eventually figures it out, and they do some gene splicing, yada, 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 and now Time Lords and now Gallifreyans can regenerate, and other Time Lords.
Doctor was technically then the patient zero for regeneration.
Yes, exactly.
They are the OG Time Lord, basically.
And this native Gallifreyan explorer who found the Doctor as a baby, who incidentally, she was a young, the Doctor was originally a girl when she was found. We don't know if she was anything before that, but she, in the course of the native Gallifreyans' experiments and trying to research how she regenerates, it shows a number of regenerations, and the first 3 are girls, and it shows more and more as the Doctor's kind of growing up. And eventually we get to a point where, and this is where all the Doctor's memories have been taken away from her. Like our first Doctor was that first one in the black and white area, William Hartnell. There's a whole bunch of stuff before that when the Doctor worked for something called the Division. And we still don't know how many lives and regenerations that version of the Doctor had. Could have potentially been hundreds. So yeah, they laid a lot on us.
Yeah, so Juice, in one of the previous episodes this season, the Doctor meets another incarnation of the Doctor, but they don't remember each other. So they're trying to figure out I don't remember you, so that means I'm before you, but you don't remember me either. So what the hell?
Yeah, one of them should have remembered the other.
Interesting.
Merida has angrily stomped out of the bedroom to get her headset, so I think she's going to be jumping on here in a second.
Fantastic.
Interesting. Confusing. And I can see this pissing off a whole lot of traditional Whovian fans.
Well, now, yeah,
that's the internet. Who gives a fuck?
Fair enough, but I mean, there are people though that are not internet savvy that I think still are going to say, "What the hell, BBC? Why did you do this to my show?"
It really does turn everything on its head as far as Doctor Who history. It changed everything.
Hi.
Welcome.
Yes. What do you think, Merida? Please expound them.
Now I feel like you're just placating me.
No. I actually want to hear the real big fans' theories and opinions on that.
And just so all our listeners know, Merida was happily studying, and she heard us talking about this, and she ran to get her headset.
He totally did.
All right. Well, we covered a few things, but lay it on us. Lay your thoughts on it.
I only heard part of it, so just catch me up to where you were, because I'm listening. Literally, I was listening. My doors closed, and I was trying not to pay.
I just covered the revelations in the Matrix, the Doctor being the timeless child, and the time with the Division, and potentially all these hundreds of regenerations we don't know about.
Well, it's interesting because I mean, it's rewriting history a little bit, which pisses a lot of people off. Obviously,
it's a big retcon.
Yeah, and I'm not always a huge fan of retcon. I think it's cool because I mean, you need room to grow if they want to keep a show going, and You know, you can only keep regenerating a person so many times. And I mean, they were out besides, right? Technically.
Yeah. And while this is a big retcon, it's not the first time they've done it to us. We had the War Doctor.
Oh, no. Yeah. Since 2005, they've done quite a few, really. But they've like slid in just little bits here and there. But they've also been like done a good job of having some continuity too. But when you've got somebody that can completely regenerate themselves, you know, there's gonna be retcon.
You said in chat there, I was talking about how did the Master kill all the Time Lords, and you said about the 2 hearts.
Yeah. Like, you've got to stop. If you stop both of a Time Lord's hearts, it kills them, right? Other than obviously you shoot somebody. I think if you do enough damage, I think brain-wise there was something too, but the straightforward thing was both hearts stop, right?
In the Doctor Who movie, when Sylvester McCoy's 7 regenerated into Paul McGann's 8th Doctor, he was kind of out of action for a while there, and I think it's been a while, but I think I remember a comment him saying like how close he came to actually dying that time.
Yeah, I mean they can die. It's just it's harder, right? Like they can regenerate and recover from like most stuff. But I mean, obviously would kill a lot of people. I don't know, because the Master said that he had them in cold storage in case he needed them. So I don't know that he actually 100% killed them dead.
Oh, right. Good point. Yeah. And I was talking about how could they regenerate in the cyber armor, but a lot of this episode dealt with gene splicing. So, you know, if he had the knowledge to manipulate the Time Lord DNA, I guess they could have made that happen, but it seemed very convenient to me still.
I think for me, what I thought was kind of an interesting thing to do is, you know, they finally had to blow this rule of that everybody has been kind of knowing that they were going to do the whole, you know, you get 12 regenerations and then you're done. And then we know that the Doctor technically has already passed that. And possibly the Master.
Yeah, the Master blew through his regenerations back in the Paul McGann era. Yeah,
so I think what it actually is that they just kill you after 12.
Yeah, the 12 thing seems a controllable thing. It just seems like a societal control method.
Yeah. Like you get, you know, it's like, you know, the whole send your elderly out to die because they're, you know, using resources sort of thing. It's like after 12, you're done. So use them wisely.
The showrunners must have been like, holy shit, we didn't think the show would go 60 fucking years. We got to write some new.
Can you imagine? Like you're thinking, this is kind of cool. We'll probably get like 5 years out of it on the Beeb. We'll be all right. 60 years later.
Well, I mean, hell, look at Star Trek. They only went 3 seasons. They thought that was it. And look at it right now.
Well, I mean, it happens even with like more modern, like Supernatural. They didn't think was going to go 15 seasons either. They kind of hit a point where they're like, all right, we've done all of the things. Like, what else? So, I mean, I think that they figured 12 would be fine. Like, they didn't think that was ever going to be an issue. And then suddenly it's an issue because the Doctor...
it was like when computers are becoming more of a common thing, when they said how much memory, 500 kilobytes, that'll be enough for anybody, you know.
Well, yeah, or they coded the century change wrong because that didn't matter. It's like, oh, what? It's the 2000s? Ah, shit, we didn't do that right. So, I mean, I think it was good, and I liked the episode. I think the Time Lord Cyberman was a little contrived, and I didn't love it. I love him as the Master, though. He is a delightful amount of crazy, kind of picks up from the Missy thing kind of nicely, which was good. So, I mean, he did the angry, you know, maniacal, murderous Master nicely, which was good. And you could hear like little bits of, obviously he had kind of studied her in the role because he had little bits of her you could kind of hear come through, which was really cool. And I mean, I liked when we flashed through all of the lifetimes.
Yeah.
was cool. I like the idea of the division.
Now, the thing about the division is it opens up a lot of things to explore. If they actually make any shows or episodes about that, the character of the Doctor, he or she will not be the Doctor we know at all.
Right, but that's brilliant because
it won't even be Jodie, right? It'll be a whole new actor.
It can be whoever. It could be Brendan, who I'm still a little bothered by that we don't know exactly 100% that Brendan was the Doctor. But anyway,
somebody on Reddit, on the Doctor Who subreddit, created a new infographic of all the incarnations of the Doctor, and that chart has gotten a lot bigger, and the division section has all these black and white photos. There's like 9 or 10 of them. So I mean, like,
but you realize the best part if Brendan's the Doctor, he's a ginger. Like, come on. It's like, that's the best bet.
So one thing that I liked about this episode in the season finale that it was, is it wrapped up the Siberium thing. So we get that one throwaway line from the older guy who was like, I was part of a resistance group that sent the Siberium back in time. Clearly not far enough. I think that was a nice like one line throwaway to wrap up how the hell did the Siberium end up in the 17th century. So that was pretty cool.
So did anybody else think, I don't know the actor's name, but he played Barristan the Bold in Game of Thrones. Did anybody else think he was in fact a later incarnation of the Doctor who had come back to, and that might have been where the Doctor finally died?
I couldn't decide whether he was Brendan, because I was trying to figure out Brendan's character, or whether I was kind of worried that the Cyberman was going to be, because we knew that Brendan obviously didn't die because he fell off the cliff and stuff. And we don't know why the last Cyberman guy, the lone Cyberman, why he rejected some of the tech, like why he was not completely assimilated, for the lack of a better word.
I was not entirely satisfied with the way his story sort of got cut short there.
Me either.
Yeah, that was the point that I didn't like, was that, you know, we've been building this character up for the last 3 or 4 episodes, I can't quite remember. And then suddenly, boom, he's Minnie and not a thing anymore. Like,
I mean,
okay,
Doctor Who has a tendency to do that.
Not
like, they really do have a tendency. They cheat on some stuff like that. I don't know. The thing that actually bothers me more is, why was Jack so very adamant that she doesn't give up the Siberium?
Yeah, another sort of unresolved thing.
Yeah, like,
I think Doctor Who is the king of unresolved things.
So, I mean, well, if you've got 60 years to like work through a plot, like, you're good, right? But like, I don't know if he knew, like, because obviously Jack's time traveling, so he has a pretty good knowledge of what's going on where. So if he knew, theoretically, that the Doctor finds out all about their life, like their true purpose, then I don't like. I mean, I realize that Gallifrey fell, but honestly, Gallifrey has fallen. This is not. I have always been a big believer that Time Lords, with the exception of the Doctor, are pretty much assholes.
Yes.
So, and even the Doctor sometimes can be an asshole. Like the whole run towards the end of Tennant, like of Ten's stuff, when Ten just kind of was like, I can change whatever I want. Like the waters on Mars.
Yeah.
The waters of Mars, yes.
Yeah. So like that was kind of the point where he was like, yeah, I can screw that. I can change what I want to, and then realize, fuck with a fixed point in time, So like we see it happen over and over again. So I actually really like it when we get the asshole Time Lords.
Makes things more interesting, for sure.
Brosnan. Was it Pierce Brosnan that did it? No. What's his face? The other James Bond.
Timothy Dalton.
There you go. That's who it was.
So yeah, but overall, it was all-right. It was not. I'm kind of a little disappointed because there was so much momentum with like the extra Doctor and Jack and everything in the middle.
If they made more spin-off episodes with that new Doctor, old Doctor, I would totally watch it because she's fantastic.
I I really liked her. Yeah, she in the scene in The Matrix, she was cool.
Yeah.
I did like how she fried the Matrix by like dumping 60 years worth of memories or whatever. That was pretty cool.
I noticed part of that flashback was the old 60s master with his hypnotist goatee.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it was a good nod to that, and it was good that they used all the footage, and it was good. I mean, I can understand. I mean, imagine being told that all the memories you thought you had maybe are just the only recent ones, and you have been like forgotten a gajillion, or B, they were planted in your memories because everything else was wiped.
Oh, and by the way, you're the progenitor of your entire race.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. By the way,
Surprise!
we weren't Time Lords till you came.
But that also opens up, I mean, I don't know if they'll ever resolve it, but where the Doctor was found at that portal, like, where did she come from? Who is she?
Yeah. And why, if Brendan is the Doctor, because I mean, I have to assume that whole division wipe thing in Ireland was, that happening, just an overlay, like it was really happening on Gallifrey, you know what I mean? But
yeah, was that a literal thing, or was it just a visual representation within the Matrix? Yeah.
Yeah. But why a baby? Why did they get left there as a baby? Like, is that just an implanted memory? But the Doctor didn't remember any of that. So what was the point? Like, I don't know. That whole part, they didn't explain it. And I have theories, but they didn't answer them. And then why prison ship? What happened there? What did the Dune come for?
I completely forgot about the ending.
So there's another part of the ending too. So if I only saw this because somebody posted a screenshot of it, but if you watch the episode with subtitles, the Master escapes by the sounds of it.
He always does, the fucker.
He always escapes. Yeah, like that's a gimme at this point. But like, why did the Doctor take the flak for wiping out Gallifrey?
How'd they even get into the TARDIS?
I don't know. The Jadoon.
Yeah, that's a better question.
It's like
plot.
Yeah, the Jadoon can get into a lot of places, although they have not been able to get into the TARDIS before. So that's actually
plot idea for the next season. The companions now technically have the TARDIS house in which they could use to go rescue her, because the police box is still stuck in the future at this point.
Yeah, there's sort of there's sort of 3 TARDISes on the go right now, and 2 of their chameleon circuits are working.
Yeah, so much better with the chameleon circuit. I was like, look at that. It looks like a house. Ooh, it looks like a tree. Phone box.
She could fix that if she wanted to. It's like she leaves the brake on. She likes it.
Yeah, she likes the noise. It makes that cool noise.
So, random thought. Nothing ever good came of gene splicing, according to science fiction.
Nope, not really.
Well, I don't know. Despite all the implanted memories and stuff, the Doctor saved the galaxy 1,000,000 times over.
Doctor didn't need gene splicing, though.
Yeah, I guess you're right about that.
Well,
yeah,
I mean,
that's gonna come. I think that's gonna come back to bite the Time Masters in the ass sometime, or it already has.
I'd argue it has, because I think that when the Master found out, he wiped out the planet again. So I think that it did kind of bite them in the ass.
Yeah, I'm kind of confused about that. So the last time I remember seeing Gallifrey was the Timothy Dalton episode where it was about to like absorb Earth, and the Master did something to make it not happen again. So is it now like truly destroyed? Is it just like sort of destroyed in this particular time frame? Is it like disappeared again? I'm kind of confused here.
So the Doctor, in order to kill all of the cyber Time Lords, literally detonated the most Deus Ex Machina thing ever that literally wiped out all organic life on Gallifrey.
Yes. Time travel.
We've seen Gallifrey destroyed so many times, and even if it is, we're going to find somewhere along the line that there are a small group of them on another planet. We never see the last of these dicks.
Yeah. Wibbly wobbly, timey wimey.
Exactly.
You go back in time, you take some off the planet. There you go. You're fine. You can Time Lord. Well, the argument is that there seem to be fixed points in time, but it seems like sometimes they're more of a guideline than an actual thing. And you can't tell because, like, the Doctor, the point in the whole being Time Lords is you can see through all space and time, right? So you know, theoretically, what you can't screw with and what you can. So even if you couldn't technically stop Gallifrey from blowing up, which I'm kind of wondering why they didn't bother to actually have that come up, because the Doctor would know whether that had to be a fixed point in time or not, right?
Right.
Like, theoretically. But having people leave the planet doesn't mean unless the whole fixed point in time was the extinction of the Time Lords, which would mean the Doctor would have to die.
So one thing that I think the writers did themselves a favor going forward is basically now we can do a bunch of seasons where the Doctor tries to figure out what the heck that they did before they were the first Doctor. So, like, we can spend the next 2 or 3 seasons having Jodie flying through time and space, trying to figure out what the heck she did and trying to get their memory back. And I'm actually thinking, now that I'm talking out loud about it, maybe that's what the Jadoon got her for. So say when she was part of whatever the heck it's called, they did a bunch of shady stuff because that's obviously what it was for. And the Master just so happens to tip somebody off that was the Doctor. And that's why the Jadoon show up.
I think that's a solid theory. And I think you're right. If we deal with that in future seasons, we may end up seeing the Doctor having her past unknown self as a string of adversaries.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Happened before because the Valyard, right? That was actually a thing. So I'm actually looking forward to Christmas special because that's the next one is the holiday special, and they're doing it at Christmas instead of giving me an Easter one, which is nice. But so John Barrowman's in Cardiff right now. And he's filming and won't tell anybody what he's doing. So I'm going to hold out hope that they're filming a Christmas special and that Jack is going to be in it. I also think if there's going to be a jailbreak, if we don't have River Song, I'm going to be a little sad.
Oh, yeah.
So
backup theory. So in a couple of series, once they finish, exploring all of the Doctor's pasts and stuff, then they can just go right back into where did the Timeless Child come from? And we can explore that for a series or 2.
Ooh, maybe that's why the Doctor was no longer in the division and had her memories wiped, because her future self kept defeating her. And he's like, all right, I just wiped this one's memory. Let's reset it as a kid. Get it out of here.
It's possible. Or it's possible the whole Timeless Child thing is bullshit and it was the Master just screwing with her.
That crossed my mind
Also
too,
true.
yeah. He just tried to destroy her with a false truth.
Yeah. I think they can go either way with it, and they'll decide depending upon the reception they get. So
Could be, yeah. But it was a fun season. It really got me enjoying Doctor Who again.
It was very good. I love Jodie. I think you know what? I never was a huge Matt Smith fan. I liked him, but I didn't love him. And Peter Capaldi, while he had enormous potential, he just took angry old man so far that I was kind of like, it didn't work for me anymore. But I mean, and obviously 10 is my Doctor, but I actually would put Jodie right next to, I would be like Tennant, Whittaker, Eccleston, Smith, Capaldi.
She's pretty high up on mine too, and I like Capaldi, of course, but I think there was the potential didn't quite meet what it could have, and it's a shame because when he first regenerated, he said, "Oh, I'm Scottish. It's good to be Scottish. Now I can really complain about things."
I was really excited, and and it's not him. He's a brilliant fucking actor. The writing wasn't great. That's like for him. I don't think they got him. Personally.
Yeah.
I mean, let's face it. He's used to playing a character where he got to curse a lot.
Yeah.
So the one thing I liked about this season as a not really Doctor Who fan was they did a really good job of slipping in critical plot stuff into episodes that didn't look like they would be critical plot episodes. Like Fugitive of the Jadoon was like, oh, the Jadoon are back. That's pretty sweet. Oh, there's a whole nother Doctor that we've never met before, and Jack's in it. Holy fuck.
Yeah. It was very good. It was nobody saw that coming. Everybody thought it was filler. Good.
Yeah, not so much. It all really gelled together quite well.
I like it when they don't do straight up just monster of the week sort of episodes. So it's like, and that last episode, while they've had better cliffhangers and they've had better endings, it definitely has changed the direction of the series potentially. If they continue on the path that they're on, it's going to piss off a lot of people, probably. Honestly, for me, the only things that they would change that would really upset me would be they take away the regeneration, because obviously that's a prime Doctor Time Lord thing. And I mean, that said, they may very well take it away when it's time for it to be done. We don't know what they're going to do there. And
True.
like if they took away the time travel, these would be the things I would not probably want to watch the show with.
Well, they kind of tried that with the third Doctor, and people didn't like it that much.
Did not go well. So like those would be the things that it would be like, you know what, I'm out. But other than that, like the show is going to keep reinventing itself. You don't stay on the air for, I mean, we say 60 years. The reality is it's not straight 60 years, but like you don't remain relatively relevant for 60 years by doing the same thing over and over again, you know?
Right, before we get to Clone Wars, I have to address the announcement of Star Wars The High Republic, and I'm actually really excited about this.
I am too, mostly because it's an unexplored era of storytelling. Like,
well, that's the best
in
part.
this period of time.
Given that it's 300-400 years before the classic timeline, the only character we might see is Yoda, and I'm kind of hoping we don't really. Like, it seems like they got a pretty good lineup of characters for the first novel setup anyway, judging by the artwork. So, I'm ready for completely unrelated stuff.
I like Star Wars best with the new stuff or with the newer stuff when we don't necessarily interconnect. Like, I mean, there are moments when we get special appearance, people pop in and pop out. But my favorite parts of the Clone Wars are when we got like all new people, Clone Wars Rebels is when we get all new people.
And I mean, the old Republic setting has a very dedicated following, with the games and a couple books and the online game. High Republic says they're going to start off with novels and comics, I think, and I'm hoping if it catches on, we could hopefully see a new cartoon or animated series. Movie might be a bit of a dream stretch thing at the moment, but the thing is, I'm hoping it takes off better than the Old Republic did. I think Old Republic would have done better if they just, like, the cinematics from the MMO were so fucking good. If they'd put a movie out like that once every year or two, it would have gone a lot better. And so I'm hoping this High Republic is more fertile ground that they'll plant more seeds in.
I guess it all depends on who they get to write it and how the stories are and how much to differentiate between their time period and the New Hope time period or the Old Republic time period or the Force Awakens time period. I guess we'll have to see how the comics and the books write out and go from there. I'm holding hope. It'll be interesting to see how we get a very Jedi-centric storyline going on this. But yeah, I'm cautiously optimistic.
I'm curious what they'll use as the antagonist for this. Is there going to be like a cult of dark side force users they have to fight? Because they need a foil to the Jedi, because the Jedi can walk over everything, basically.
That was the first question that crossed my mind too, because there's probably not going to be anything like the Empire. I mean, they can do whatever they want. They can have, a whole alien race or something be the antagonist, and they can mix Mandalorian stuff in there, which I hope. But the thing is that there's not going to be any Sith, or there shouldn't be, because they said Maul was the first one to appear in thousands of years. You can't have Sith, but you know what you can have? Fallen Dark Jedi.
Yeah,
for sure.
So you know what I hope?
Like Night Sisters or something, or whatever.
I want the Jedi to be the asshole.
That's
probably not going to happen.
You know what? That's kind of how the lens I look at them a lot, though, is because the Republic Commando books, looking at them from a Mandalorian standpoint, and they're just portrayed like aristocratic, meddling fuckheads.
They're Star Wars Time Lords. Let's face it. So that's kind of what I want. I want it to be like maybe there's like rebellion, but it's like people that don't like the fancy space magic or the fancy space religion, or and maybe those people who it starts to go that path, and then you end up with fallen Jedi and stuff who are like maybe gray to start out with, and then
I'm hoping at least for a healthy underworld factor of some sort.
Oh yeah, it's like the Jedi. They are a little pompous. Let's face it.
Don't even get me going.
They just are.
Okay, let's. Speaking of pompous interfering Jedi, as we move into Clone Wars, at the start of the episode, Anakin sneaks off for his secret phone call to Padme, and along comes Obi-Wan, Mr. Cockblocker. Oh, what's going on in there? And Rex is like, you look like a college guy covering for his roommate jerking off.
It's like, oh no, I don't. He's just gutting my gear.
It was nice to see Padme, though.
It was relatively freshly pregnant Padme, I would say. Like probably 3-4 months pregnant, I would say.
Looked like it.
Yeah. I mean,
I watched the episode on my own, and but I still said out loud when Obi-Wan came on, I was like, oh, jeez, this fucking guy.
It really does lend, well, obviously now, but it lends tons of credence to the fact that he knew the whole time.
I totally think he knew the whole time.
Well, he knew. He said to him, "Tell Padme I said hi," essentially. Like,
he's like, I know you've been banging.
I don't think he knew she was pregnant at that point, but a bit of an age gap still, I guess.
Yeah, and the Outer Rim sieges, they were away for a while, right?
Yeah.
It's only 5 years, whatever.
Whatever. Amateurs.
Anyway, we move on to the Bad Batch, the next mission. I enjoyed Wrecker bench pressing a gonk droid. He reminds me of Ragnarok more and more.
Right? That's what Matt and I are both like the whole time. It's like, oh my God, it's Ragnarok.
I have to talk to him and see if he's been watching this, because if he hasn't, he should be. Well, something that stuck out interesting to me is they asked the Bad Batch, who do you report to? And they really dodged the question.
Mm-hmm.
And now I really want to know.
No, I'm guessing probably either Direct Emperor or some alternate command structure within the Senate. But that's just me.
They seem very Black Ops types guys. I really dig their ship. That sort of that slicey angle lambda thing they got going there.
It is cool.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah, no, very very sleek and modern. It does suit them well.
I have to say, I love watching the Bad Batch work. Like, I would watch episodes of just them carrying out missions like these hunters like Rock Slide, and they just know what to do.
Yeah, they definitely have, they've worked together for so long that they just have a playbook and they play from it.
The way they're doing these episodes, you gotta kind of wonder if people really like this particular story arc, if they're gonna spin these guys off into their own season for a Disney Plus, for more Disney Plus content.
I would totally watch that.
I would watch it, but I don't think they'd do it.
Why not?
I think, we talk all the time about how we really love the clone-centric episodes, but I don't think we're in the majority.
I don't know. Like, I agree with you, Chris. I don't think they would do it, but I think if in the right hands, if nothing else, the Mandalorian show shows what you can do with something that's not Jedi-centric, and it could be good if somebody was in charge of it.
I think if you did it, you would have to do it with a more adult bend, like they did with the Mandalorian. And then
sure, hands down.
And that would mean animation gets harder because kids want to watch the animated stuff regardless of what age you put on it. Because if you did that with actors, They're clones. Like, that's a pain.
Hey, Tamira Morrison, come on our show and play 12 different characters.
It's like,
if they really want to blow my mind, they should do a live action show of Delta Squad and based on the Republic Commando games, because actually Tamir Morrison only voiced the boss character. Sev, Fixer, and Scorch were all voiced by different people, and it was very distinctive, but it worked.
that's cool.
And like they never took their helmets off anyway, you know?
That's true. If they keep their helmets on, then it's definitely better. I mean, we just did it for the whole Mandalorian season, though. It's kind of done now. But yeah, I just think that for live action, that would probably be hard to do. And then if you make a cartoon, then that's going to make kids want to watch it. And I don't think, because I mean, I think the stuff that would be interesting to deal with the clones would be some of the backstory about them kind of becoming individuals.
That even though they're not canon anymore, that the clone stuff really goes to the Republic Commando novels, which was for a lot of Mandalorians. That's the culture was really, a lot of it came out of those books. But it comes to back to what Rex said in this episode, how he recognized Echo's voice, and people were always asking these guys, how do you tell each other apart? How do you know that's his voice? And they're always like, we just do.
And they are all slightly different. Like you can tell that it's a different, like if you closed your eyes when you were watching, you could tell it was different characters.
Yeah, they inflect differently.
Yeah.
I like it. And I think it was the last Cast Cry said something about it's like the one guy in the recording booth just doing the work all day.
It's true. It'd be cool. Just talking to yourself, reading in different voices.
Here's my pitch. We do a Band of Brothers style clone movie. I think it would work well.
We sort of gotten that over the 7 seasons of Clone Wars anyway.
Yeah, you know what though? For every good clone story arc we got a boring one about some fucking political thing with Jar Jar in it or whatever.
Here.
But still necessary to get all the whole story about this war, because nothing happens without the political.
Oh no, I totally agree. My preference, of course, is that Band of Brothers frontline war story type stuff.
And I agree too. I find those episodes much more enjoyable, but you still need the other part to tie it all in.
That'd be a great thing for the guy to announce at the start of the episode. Coming up on this episode arc of a trade agreement on a boring fucking planet.
Padme and Deputy Senator Jar Jar Binks must blah, 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 blah. And I immediately turn off the episode.
Fuck. Misa gonna skip this one. I also enjoyed in this one when they said, hope nobody's afraid of heights, everybody turned and looked at Wrecker. I also enjoyed there was a bit of static between, the Bad Batch and what they call the regs, like it's like Rex and Cody, those guys are elite, but these guys are still looking down their noses at them.
Well, I think it gets back to the whole clone thing. I think that they think because they're different than a clone, because they're, mutated or modified or tweaked or whatever from the regular batch, that they think they're better because they're more individual.
And that's just it. That goes directly back to those Commando books too, because you had, your Jango clones were, the shinies, the normal clones, and then it went up, Republic Commandos were what they called more undiluted Jango, and then you had the ARC troopers who were fiercely independent, and so it still plays to that and it works. Like some are more diluted Mandalorian than others.
Yeah.
The thing about this episode is I was not expecting them to find Echo. At best, I was expecting them to find his brain in a jar, and it's like it's like what they found was so much worse. Like he's practically a zombie, right? Like I was like, oh no.
And they said that we have his mind. I'm like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
Brain in a jar.
For sure. But and Rex was so determined. He's like, I'm not leaving without him. And I'm like, oh, buddy, you're not going to find him, or he's going to be, brain in a jar. But no, they found him.
Yeah, it reminded me, okay, we now have our version of Darth Maul.
Maybe. We don't know what's going to happen. And we don't know if they were supposed to find him. Like, it could have been a plot that they were supposed to find him.
I thought they'd drag this out a few more episodes. I didn't think they'd find him this quick.
Which is why it makes me think they're supposed to find him.
So I guess then what's going to happen now that they found him? Is he going to help them out? Are they going to throw him in the back of the tank and hope for the best? I mean, what's going to happen?
I worry that he's going to be like a beacon.
Well, considering most of his body is now cyber, that's not a distinct impossibility.
Yeah.
Is this starting to feel like reclaiming somebody from Borg assimilation?
Yeah. Hey, you got a segue.
A segue! Who's ready to move on to some Picard?
Oh, we.
Right now, this is the third thing we've discussed that's had to deal with cyber stuff and augmentation.
It is.
It's been a robot-y episode.
All right, moving into Picard. A point of trivia I saw. Elnor apparently means Star Trek in the Tolkien Elven language.
Interesting.
Oh, wow. That's really on the nose.
Wow.
I don't know if that's true or not. I didn't bother to verify it. I just saw someone post that. If anyone out there speaks what Quenya or Sindarin, please let us know.
I liked the Easter egg that Phoenix posted it or mentioned the other day, that in the shot of Soji's desk, there is some children's fables, and those are the same children's fables that little girl on Voyager, whose name is totally escaping me right now.
I know exactly
Naomi
what you're talking
Wildman.
about. There you go.
Naomi Wildman viewed on the holodeck when she was a child.
Oh, yeah, I remember those.
So when I type, hold on, if I'm trying to use the Quenya translator, it doesn't actually translate it. So I'm going to look. I'm curious now. I'm sorry.
But you know what? It just, after 30 fucking years, it just dawned on me that Quenya and Sindarin were probably the predecessors for Qualinesti and Sylvanesti. God damn it. I'm an idiot.
So the thing I actually liked the most about this episode was Hugh's reaction to Picard arriving.
Which was interesting because last time they showed up, he was kind of like 50-50 on the edge after the Borg. I mean, after the Borg gained their sentience in Descent Part 2. Hugh was a little pissed at them because they had disrupted his harmony with the rest of the cube. So, yeah, I was kind of impressed. He apparently has forgotten and forgiven.
I really like that they didn't pull punches on Picard's PTSD on arriving back on the cube.
I thought the overlay shot of Locutus over Picard's face from the view screen was really well shot, like right up with Daenerys and the dragon wings from the last episode of Game of Thrones.
So while Phoenix and I were watching this episode as Picard was making his way to the cube, I said, oh my fuck, what if Locutus arriving on the cube reactivates everything? And Phoenix was like, oh shit.
That would have been cool. And there was one Borg or one ex-drone or whatever that called him Locutus, and I'm curious as to why.
You know what? I hated that. It was so on the nose and so unnecessary.
But apparently, the Borg cube didn't go all murdery on everybody, which I was a little surprised with. And in fact, I was actually also amused that he was been holding out on his Romulan benefactors.
Hugh was great in this episode. He was like the best ally.
I agree.
And we got to see Elnor kill some people. Yay!
Yeah, I'm a little worried about him. He got left behind.
I'm sure Hugh will be able to take care of him. Plus, Elnor's Romulan. That'll probably help out a bit too.
So another thing Phoenix brought up while we were watching it, as they retreated to that the Queen cell, did anybody else, when that the mechanical stuff started dropping down, that it was going to automatically start trying to build a Queen body?
I was a little concerned.
Would have been creepy. I had an 11th grade English teacher who was absolutely in love with the Borg Queen. Like, thought she was like the hottest thing ever.
Oh, you've mentioned this before. Yeah, that seems weird.
in what's the movie with the Borg? They go back in time. I can't remember. Thank you, Juice. I knew you'd know. It's my favorite Star Trek movie, and I can't remember the damn name of it.
Oh yeah, my favorite too.
One thing I found funny is I saw some people online complaining that Picard having PTSD about being the Borg shouldn't happen because he's never done it before. And someone pointed out, did you see what he did to the Borg in that movie when he goes all Tommy gun on them?
Yeah, no, that whole half that movie was basically Picard trying to get over his PTSD with the Borg. So yeah.
And I mean, not to mention, as you get older, that he's had all this time to think about shit too, right? Like, I don't think it's unreasonable at all that you could find yourself like thinking you buried everything deep, and then all of a sudden something triggers you.
I like that we saw some anger out of Picard talking about the Borg. Like I kind of harkened back to when he got pissed off. When he was talking to Lily in First Contact. He just, the line must be drawn here, kind of thing. Like he's like, I'm pissed.
I think he's just, as you get older in life, you become frequently more bitter and jaded. The Starfleet completely let him down. Like everything that he thought they stood for, they let him down. And now it looks like it's even worse than he thought. And he's had nothing to do but sit at his brother's vineyard, or his vineyard or whoever's vineyard, thinking about how pissed off he is at shit. It's like, I think probably a little PTSD. You throw him on a Borg cube and you're like, hey, come on in. You're not, yeah, I think it's pretty natural for him to be like, yeah, okay, bad memories. I mean, and plus, we don't know what the hell's going on with his brain still.
Apparently, the actual footage of the Borg flashbacks he had was taken directly out of First Contact and the Best of the Both Worlds episodes, which I thought was pretty cool.
Cool. But I mean, again, we don't know. I mean, we still don't know whether what the doctor alluded to about his brain was true or not either, right? Like before he went to space. So
I'm trying to find that quote from the showrunner again on Reddit about the State of the Federation. As I was scrolling past, I just saw another funny thing of some user that said, the final episode better be Picard and Riker stealing a mothballed galaxy glass.
Oh God, that would be amazing.
Another thing another person said on there was, while they are loving the Picard series, it's not like, because it's only, 8 episodes and not like the old time, where you could just pick a random episode and enjoy it for what it was. Whereas Picard, you kind of have to see everything in sequence. You know what I mean?
But I find that that's what TV wants these days. Nobody wants to do one-off Monster of the Week episodes. People want a big overarching plot so that it forces everybody to tune in every week, or they miss it.
Yeah.
In some ways, though, yes, it helps, but it also hinders because people can't just tune in and randomly and try and like it. They get lost and then they say, shit, screw this, and tune in somewhere else.
But the upsurge in streaming sites makes that easier because you can always just go back and start on the first episode.
Okay, I found that quote from Michael Chabon. I'm not sure I'm saying that name right, but it's in regards to the downfall of the Federation. So bear with me while I read this. This is from his Instagram. Federation downfall? What Federation downfall? They're still very much alive and home to quadrillions of safe, house-fed, educated citizens with the potential to lead fulfilling lives. There was a crisis 15 years ago in the wake of the costly Dominion War and the Romulan emergency, which had a negative impact on the lives of many people, including most of our principal characters in one way or the other, during which Starfleet, and by extension Federation, did not acquit itself well. In Picard's eyes. From Admiral Clancy's viewpoint, which is likely the mainstream view, Picard's attitude was unrealistic, quixotic, and even dangerous. She may be right. They may both be right and both wrong, but it was 15 years ago, and the Federation is still going strong. Perhaps in the eyes of some, it's lost its luster, its air of invulnerability, its claim to the moral high ground, a process that began during DS9 times. That is hardly a, quote, downfall, though.
See, my thing It is honestly there. We do really have a theme that runs through tonight beyond the robots. It's the assholes. Like every time, and this is my same thing with Starfleet. Like people that think they are so absolutely believe so absolutely that they know best do stuff like this. I don't know. It's just like absolute power corrupts absolute, right? Like that's what it comes down to. And even for people that think that they are doing the best thing, like Obi-Wan, who thinks he's doing the best thing.
That's a great parallel too. And the funny thing is, in that quote, it talks about looking through Picard's eyes. But you know what? Looking through Picard's eyes, that's looking through the eyes of a moral man, you know?
Yeah. And I think that like Picard wanted, he didn't want Starfleet to fail and to be like, that was his life. Like he did all of these things. And now, is Picard pompous too? Sure. Like he went in thinking that if he said, well, then I'm going to resign, and they'd be like, oh, no. They were like, okay. Like,
yeah, they called his bluff.
Right. But so, I mean, he's kind of got some whole things going on with that too. But I think that he really wanted Starfleet to be right and be good and not have dark corners. But anytime you have a group in power, sure, there are going to be people that are really good, and there are going to be people that think they're doing the thing for the right reason, and then there are going to be people that really are just pretending to be good.
For the most part, this is my theory, governments are neither good nor evil. Governments exist to protect their citizens and try and make their citizens' lives the best that they can. The Federation's decision to stop the Romulans, as you heard the fleet admirals say, was based on the fact that the Federation could have split it off if they had continued to go along with it. So in the best interest of the whole, or the needs of the many, they made that decision. A lot of Starfleet's and the Federation's decisions throughout, like all the series, including the original Star Trek, have been based on the needs of the many outweighing the needs of the few. So, I mean, yes, sometimes it's for the better. And yes, sometimes for whatever moral code you follow, it's for worse. But I mean, overall, and as I said, for the most part, I mean, there are definitely some exceptions in history where we will all agree that some governments were completely and absolutely evil. But for the most part, governments themselves are neither a thing of evil or a thing of good. They're a thing that exists to help and continue on the people it serves. And that's my pontification for the evening.
Megatron 2020.
So interestingly enough, because I've been sitting here playing with the Elven translator for a variety of different languages at this point, Star is in fact Ellen. I can't find out if it's Star Trek does not translate.
Well, they should have called him Ellen. He was raised by nuns.
Yeah.
A badass Romulan samurai named Ellen.
And I think that in an ideal, perfect situation, that is exactly what a government is meant to be. That's why we elect them. But the reality is governments end up in power not through election sometimes, and governments that are elected aren't elected because by the majority, they're elected by the people that actually have the power. So it doesn't always work that way.
So the other part of this episode, it felt very Blade Runner to me, was Soji calling home to her mom, which is pretty much, in my view, like an AI baseline code that's similar to Blade Runner to keep her on keel.
Yeah. I called it. I fucking called it. That's two.
So when she was using that little device to sort of carbon date all the items in her room, and they were all 37 months, and she's, her reality is falling down around her, I turned to Phoenix and Rain and I said, what if that thing's just broken?
Yeah, well, I was like, well, maybe you should pick something that's didn't come with you, just so you know that's not 37 months too. Like,
maybe try it on the wall or
maybe a
something.
chair. Yeah. Like,
I would have laughed if she did on the wall and the thing says 3,700 years.
It says, go give me another one.
it's like it was. I mean, it was obviously for dramatic effect, but from an IT perspective, I'm like, you don't just to test it on something else. Like,
this is kind of important. Maybe a second opinion.
it's like, sure, all the stuff with you, but you didn't know. I don't know.
Well, it looks like her supposed lover, aka the Romulan spy, stayed true to his training and tried to kill her off.
Oh, he looked sad though.
He was conflicted.
He did. He was conflicted, but he still tried. He still did it.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean he's going to stay that side. I think that we'll see him wobble. Do you think? I mean, in my happy place, Elnor lives, but I feel like it's that final scene from Angel. Everybody's fighting the dragon, It's and then fade out. Oh,
I'm still worried that Cube's going to wake up and Elnor's going to get assimilated, and then Picard's going to be like, "Oh, what have I done?"
Oh, that would be terrible.
It would be terrible. Oh, so we got 2 episodes left, and apparently we're finally going to get to see Riker next one.
That'd be good.
Yeah, I think Troy too.
Yes, both of them are supposed to be together. So, do you think he transported them to their planet to escape, or is it just going to be the very last episode where everything's getting resolved and Picard is asking an old friend what he should do next, so we can set the tone for the next season?
Either way, I feel Riker and Troy are not living on Earth.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't think so.
I don't think
Riker
so either.
Probably owns a permanent home on Risa.
I don't know. I go back to my earlier guess that they could be living on Beta Z. Maybe they inherited Luxana's property or something.
Well, it's possible.
Very well could be possible.
Wait, you know what? Maybe they're living in her house and they won't show her, but they'll intimate that she's upstairs and she's always making demands and shit.
Yeah.
Should be what's-his-face's mother from Big Bang Theory.
But the actress is dead, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, she passed away a number. Yeah, she passed away a number of years ago. So
I feel like we could get creative with some audio dubbing to keep her in things.
Oh, for sure. I mean, look what they've done.
Exactly. Well, that actually brings me to another point. I saw an article about William Shatner saying he's pretty much done with Star Trek. He thinks Kirk's story is now played out, even with the aging software and all that. He's like, yeah, I think it's all finished.
Well, he's got so much more going on nowadays. So I mean, I don't blame him for not wanting to relive it. I mean, I'm sure he'll probably take the appearance fees and all the money from autographs and photographs to go to various conventions for it. But as for actually playing Kirk again sometimes, I don't think we'll be seeing him again anytime.
Yeah, and I feel that is right at this point.
But here's the thing. How can you have Kirk without Spock? And you can't have Spock anymore.
So before Leonard Nimoy passed, did anybody else take him up on his open Twitter offer to have him as your grandpa? Because I did.
I was very lucky. So that it was Montreal Comic Con. It was probably one of the last conventions he did before he passed away. And I actually got to get up on stage and ask him a question. And I was so fucking nervous. I had actually written it down on my iPhone. So I walked up. I was actually dressed as a Jedi at the time. So I think he commented on the Jedi robes first. Then I started reading my question. And then he just stops me in the middle of it and says, "What are you holding?" I told him, "Well, it's an iPhone." An iPhone, and it goes on for about half a minute. The audience is in stitches laughing over all this. I'm half embarrassed. I'm half embarrassed, but half want to laugh my ass off because I'm being chided by one of the first guys at Star Trek. Yeah, it was. I was kind of happy I was able to actually interact with him. I never actually got a chance to have a photo autograph with him, but that was a good memory, and I'm very glad it happened, despite the way it turned out. But it was quintessential Nimoy.
All right, I'm gonna bag it for tonight, folks. Thanks for coming out yet again.
I'm gonna go study now.
Long one this time.
Back to work, Merida. I'm glad you came, though.
Go study. See you guys later.
See you soon.
See you now.
Bye.
Bye.